Hello, parents. Welcome to the Masterful Parenting Podcast. I'm Anne Alvares, parent coach, school counselor, and mother of two. Do you sometimes struggle with your parenting role? Do you notice that sometimes you're repeating patterns that you learned in your own childhood? Maybe you are carrying childhood pain that has not been healed, and you notice that it is showing up in your parenting with your own children. Perhaps you yell or get frustrated easily. Maybe you are directing them or telling them what to do all the time, and you notice that your actions are affecting your relationship with your children. Well, parents, I totally understand this. I came from childhood pain and I learned how to be a relational parent with my children. And I can teach this to you as well. This podcast is all about learning how to heal the childhood pain that we are carrying so that we can foster healthy relationships with our kids. Join us every week for a new show, and we will dive into the healing and the fostering of healthy relationships with our children. Hello, parents. Welcome to the Masterful Parenting Podcast and YouTube channel. Today, we are going to talk about teenagers and their friends. I think it's a super important topic for us parents of teens. And I am a parent of a teen currently. He is 15. But I also have an older son who's 25, and I have already gone through the teenage years with him. And I'm going to explain to you what I've learned about teenagers and their friends uh, as a parent of two boys, having gone through the teenager years with one and going through the teenage years again with my second. And also the thousands of conversations I've had with teenagers as a school counselor for over 16 years. So I want to impart some knowledge to you parents and to help you with the teenage journeying of teenagers and their friendships. Okay, so it's so important to know who our kids are hanging out with. And it's important because if we don't know, we can't keep them safe. And sometimes in the teenage years, kids are exposed to things that we have no control over. I'm not going to lie, there's some bad things that happen in high school, right? Like there's a lot of vaping, sometimes in the bathrooms, and things are going on. Kids are being exposed to things. So we can't stop that as parents, but we do have power with our own children. And I'll explain what I mean by that. Uh, but first, I want to just mention to you, parents, that parenting is not an isolated job. Parenting requires a community. Honestly, it's the truth. If we want to raise healthy kids, we cannot parent in isolation. We have to have a community of people that we trust that will help us with our kids. Okay, so what do I mean by that? I mean that we need to know who our friends are, even at a young age, even in elementary school. And especially if we're single parents. I've been a single mom. I am a single mom currently. And it's really, really important to have a network of people that you trust with your kids, right? Because you can watch out for each other and each other's children. I do have a tribe currently, a group of parents. All of our kids get along. They do things together. We get them in activities together. And then actually we do family vacations together, which is really, really awesome. Two of us are single moms. No, three of us are single moms. And the rest, the other three have uh, spouses, but we all get along. Our kids all get along. And since COVID, we have been planning a yearly trips together. And it's been really, really good. And all of us have the same kind of values when it comes to our children and what we want our children to learn and grow up with. So that has been actually a lifesaver for me as a single mom to have this group that I can rely on, depend on, support, and get supported by. So with my oldest, though, I did start this this idea of a tribe. I did start with him. I got to know the moms and the moms of the kids that he was friends with, and we talked. And I had his friends over at my place. They had my son over at their place, and there was a father who took my oldest son with him and his son, my son's friend, on all different kinds of hiking trips. And it was so good. Like, I think that is what sparked my oldest son's love for hiking and exploring the outdoors. And I mean, I was scared, to let him go with this father, but I did trust that it was going to be okay. And then the first trip that they did, my son told me about it. And he said it was so fun, so exciting, and everything that they did. And also on one other trip, my oldest son got injured, and he took him to the doctor, to the clinic. Like, so these are the kind of parents you want. You want the parents that are going to be attentive and helping you with your children in case an emergency happens. Um, so you want trusting adults with your kids, but you get to know parents quite well when you start talking to them, like in the playground, when you're picking up your children, um, when you meet at the school. I was part of the parent advisory committee for my oldest son's school, so I really actually got to know the parents very well. I also taught at that school, so I really was able to develop a community to help support me and also to help me with my son. So I encourage that parents, if you can, like on your days off, if you're working a lot, maybe on your days off, you can go to the school, you can pick up your child, and then you can start talking to some of the parents there and connecting and getting phone numbers, and then have play dates, right? Because now you know these kids that your child is friends with, and that's really, really important. Um, and then I was going to say with my youngest, which is the one I told you about the tribe, I this is actually what I did because I wasn't in his school. I was in a different school. He went to a French immersion school. And so I got to know his friends' parents at the school and having play dates. Because then you talk to the parents when they come and pick them up from your house, or when you go over to their house to pick up your child and have these conversations. And then we had one parent who really was passionate about getting us all together. And so we would have a day where all of us would meet at the beach or have a barbecue at a park, and we did potluck, those sorts of things. And that really built up my community that started in 2020. In fact, in 2020 during COVID, that was our bubble group, our group that we hung out. We said this is our bubble group. So our kids still got a lot of social interaction. They were not isolated because we went outside a lot. We did a lot of things outside, a lot of walks. I think every night we did a walk because school was kind of shut down and it was more like an online school. So so that's why it's good to have a tribe. Okay, in the teenage years, let's say you don't know your children's friends And now they're in high school. And they are exposed to more kids, right, in high school because high school is bigger. There's kids from other elementary schools, things like that. So, how do you get to know your teenagers' friends? Okay, I will just share with you. I asked my oldest son what high school he wanted to go to. He told me that he wanted to go to the high school where most of his friends were going. And so I said, okay, let's make that happen. And so he did actually go to the high school where most of his friends came from elementary school. And same with my youngest son. He is in a high school where most of his friends were with him in elementary school. I think that is actually really important because it's so hard for kids to go to a school where they know no one and try to make friends. It's tough. It's really tough on them because the transition to high school from elementary school to high school is huge. Uh, so it's nice for them to have that support of their friendships. If you can make that happen, okay, then it is really, really good. Um, but I will give you some strategies if you can't make that happen and they don't know a lot of people in the high school, then I will give you some tips on that one. Okay, so if they travel with their friends to their high school, then you will know some of their friends already, but they're going to also meet other friends, right? Maybe online, maybe when they're playing. Like my son meets his friends. He knows them from high school, but he also socializes with them online when he's playing his games, Roadblocks or whatever it is he's playing. So I will ask him, "Oh, who are you playing with? Tell me about him," right? I ask him because I want to know who his friends are. And then with my oldest, he one day he said, I want to go on a bike ride with this friend of mine. And I didn't know the friend. So of course I was a bit worried about it. So I said, can you have your friend come over to our place so I can meet him first before you guys go on this bike ride together? And he did. He brought him to the backyard. I met him. I had a good vibe. I was like, okay, I think this guy's okay. And then they went on their bike ride together. So you can ask your teenager, you can say, can I meet that person first before you go out with them? Is it okay if you meet at our house so I can know who you're going out with? I think that is all valid, because then you can get an idea of who it is. And then you might even ask, like, okay, and can I have their parents' phone number in case anything happens, and I can't reach you? I think all of those are reasonable requests as parents, right? And we always have to say to them, it's because I want to make sure you're safe. I get worried about you. Can we do that? Like, I want to give you freedom, but I also want to ease my fears. And easing my fears is I get the phone number of who you're going out with, and you answer your phone when you go out so that I know that you're safe. That's my priority, right? Um, it's okay to say that to our teens. It's totally fine. They will understand it. They're like, well, mom loves me, dad loves me. That's why they're asking for that information. That's why we have to tell them why we want the information, right? Because otherwise they're going to be like, oh, like, why are they making all these rules before I go out, right? And it's really, really, really because I love you. That's the communication. I love you and I want to make sure you're safe. Okay, so what happens if they go to a high school and they don't know people? Okay, it's huge, it's hard. I would say reach out to the school counselor. If you know that your child is shy, doesn't make friends easily, then I think it's okay to connect with a counselor and say, yeah, I'm a little worried about my child. He's 13, he's starting grade 8, doesn't know anybody. We moved into the area. Do you think you could like monitor or check up on him, check up on her? I think that's a reasonable request and it's totally fine. And then you can ask your child, okay, so how is it going at school? Have you met anybody yet? Do you have any friends? You know, that that's okay because that's inviting a conversation about it. that is healthy. That's important. And if you notice that your teenager is having struggles with friendships, then you can actually influence that, right? You can say, why don't you invite this person over, right? And encourage the friendship. Or you could get them involved in extracurricular things, things outside of school, that will give them other opportunities to meet people. And you can also get them to join different clubs, different sports in high school, because that way they get to know other people. And in high school, because here in Canada, we go from grade 8 to 12. Um, some people have middle school, not very many. Yeah, where I am a school counselor, it's 8 to 12. So they're going to have, sometimes they do have friends that are older, a year older, or 2 years older. And that's okay as long as their friends are okay, right? If it's like grade 8 and they're friends with grade 12s, eh, I would be wondering about that. I'd be like, why? Why does a grade 12 want to be friends with a grade 8 student? And I would ask my child that. Why? Why is he hanging out with you? Why is she hanging out with you? Okay. Okay. So so that is how you can influence their friendships and know more about their friendships at school. And you can ask them questions. What do they do? What do they like to do? What do you guys have in common? Those sorts of things. But if your child tells you like a friendship is not healthy, and I've had that with my youngest son, then you can talk about it. You can say, okay, so do you think that's okay? We invite the conversation, but we get them to think about it. So your friend lied about you. Do you think that's okay? Do you think that's a friendship? Do you think that's a healthy friendship? Right? And have the dialogue and say, your real friends, they want what's best for you. They want to help you and they want to support you. So if they are encouraging you to skip school, do something bad that's harmful to you, they're not real friends, honey. Right? That's the kind of conversations we have to have with our kids. Okay. So important because that actually helps them to make good decisions with their friendships and it also keeps them safe from others. All right. So when we are asking our kids about their friendships and they have gravitated to one or two kids, and maybe we don't know them very well, then we can say, "Hey, do you want to bring your friend over and you can do some cooking or baking?" Like my oldest was really into baking and cooking, and he had his guy friends a few times come over and make things. Um, I was encouraged. I encouraged my children to have their friends over because then I know who they're hanging out with, what they're doing, what their interests are, and then I can support them with that. So again, I'm going to say, parents, have your child bring his or her friends over, one or two. Like you don't want it overwhelming, but maybe one at a time. Have them for dinner, or get them to do some baking or cooking or um, playing basketball together in your backyard. But encourage your child to have their friends in your home, in their home, right? Because then that's safety. That's an opportunity for you to connect with your child because you know their friends. All right. Okay. So what happens, and this is common. This happen. I have like many conversations with parents about my child is with the wrong group, the wrong crowd, and I don't know what to do. Okay. So first of all, you got to know, are they the wrong crowd? Or is it just a kid that's struggling? Right? Because if it's just a kid that's struggling and your child is able to help that kid, then I think it's okay. But then if the kid that is struggling is influencing your child in a negative way, then that's not okay. Um, And I'll just give you an example, like if they're vaping and then you notice that your child is starting to do that, then you have to have the conversation with your child. You have to say, why are you doing that? Do you think it's good for you? Do you think it's healthy? Do you think that person's a good friend? Right? But I always say use questions because when you're using questions, you're inviting conversation and you're getting your child to think about his or her actions, which is what you want to do. You don't want them to follow whatever is told to them, right? We don't want to be parents that dictate because it doesn't actually foster confidence. We want to be parents that question and get our children to be thinking about their actions because actually that's impactful. So then as adults, they're thinking, they're questioning, they've learned how to problem solve and think for themselves instead of being directed and told what to do. All right. You're fostering independence and you're fostering confidence. And that is the conversation you can have. Now, the most important thing is to be connected with your children. That is going to protect your teenager the most. But also, you need to know their world. You need to know what they're thinking about things. And asking questions actually gets them to show you what they're actually thinking. And you have to model healthy relationships with them so that they choose healthy people to be around. Okay. So you're healthy with them. You're loving them. You're complimenting them. You're giving them support. You're modeling what is healthy in a relationship. And then if they're exposed to someone who's unhealthy, you can say, what do you think about that? You know, your friend lied to you or your friend posted something on social media about you. What do you think about that? Do you think that's okay? Is that a good friendship? Is that a healthy friendship? And then what can you do about it if you don't think it's a good friendship? How can you break free from an unhealthy friendship if it's not good for you? Right? These are the impactful conversations that we can have with our teenagers. So stay connected, but know their friends. Ask them about their friends. Ask them about their world. You know, ask them about what they like to do. Invite the friends into your home so you know who they are and what they like to do together, right? And if you think that one of your friends or a friend is not healthy, then you can ask the question, or you can even tell your child, not crazy about this friend of yours because he came to the home with a vape, my home with a vape. That's not okay. You can address the friend. I don't want you to bring that here to my home, right? But when our kids are doing things that are, they know that are not good, that we know that that's a red flag and they're hanging out with the wrong group, the wrong crowd, and being exposed to things that you don't want them exposed to. And then you kind of have to have that conversation with your teenager about, I want you safe, I want you healthy, and I don't want you to developing bad habits that you're going to struggle with in your adult life to get rid of. So we have to address this, what you're doing. Okay, that's the impactful conversations that we have with our teenagers. Okay, parents, I hope that helped you in dealing with or understanding the importance of friendships in our teenagers' lives and how we as parents can make impact with our kids in making good decisions so that they are being around people who are good influences, who are supportive of them, and who are healthy. That is a way that we can protect our children, our teenagers. All right. Okay. Thank you so much, parents, for joining. I love you, and I hope that this episode was helpful and will give you some tools to use with your teenager and their friends. Thank you. Take care, everybody. Thank you, parents, for joining the show today. I hope it was valuable and that you have some useful tools to use with your children. If this show blessed you or changed you in any way, I would appreciate a review on my podcast, or subscribe to my YouTube channel, or perhaps you could even recommend our masterful parenting to your family and friends. Thank you so much, parents.